Hello and welcome. This week, she made me play Tokyo Mirage Sessions. Now, we swear. Quite a bit. Well, at least Pure does. Me not so much. Maybe. Depends on the game. And as always, there's going to be spoilers.
No. There are no spoilers this episode because this is our first ever She Made Me Play review. So we're not going to have any spoilers at all.
What about when we the, bad thing
Hey.
and...
No spoilers.
Anyways, viewer discretion advised.
See what I have to put up with. Today on She Made Me Play, it's a very special episode. This is our first ever She Made Me Play review. We tried to get this out as quickly as possible because the brand new Tokyo Mirage Sessions Sharp FE Encore just came out on the Nintendo Switch.
It's not actually new, though.
You know what? It is new. It's new to you, and it's new to a lot of people out there. Hashtag don't let it die on Wii U.
So, you want to explain why it's technically new then?
Well, yeah. So Tokyo Mirage Sessions Sharp FE came out in 2015, and it's a crossover role-playing game developed by Atlas and published by Nintendo for the Wii U. Hashtag never forget. So the Wii U was a really cool system with a lot of neat games, but nobody bought it.
I think you got it from someone really awesome for a Christmas present, I believe.
That's correct. Our own Kalisa bought me my Wii U as a Christmas present, and I was super excited because I've been a big Bayonetta fan, and I wanted to play Bayonetta 2 on it. And then, of course, Mario and things like that. But Tokyo Mirage Sessions, when it came out, it was like a bolt of lightning out of nowhere. No one expected this brand new IP, well, not a new IP, but a revised crossover IP on the Wii U. I bought it at launch and absolutely loved it. But it was only on the Wii U, so nobody had it and nobody played it. I was one of the only people to play it back then. And I told you about it, and you're like, oh, yeah, well, it's on the Wii U.
Yeah, I didn't have one. That was yours.
Exactly. So that's, one of the things we normally talk about. Why didn't you play this when it first came out? It's pretty obvious why you and many, many millions of people did not play it. It's because it was stuck on the Wii U. And that is a tough place to be for a game back in 2015. So I understand. But now it's on Switch. Obviously, the Switch's popularity skyrocketed above the Wii U, and this is going to be something that a lot of people now are going to finally get to play. It's a crossover between the Shin Megami Tensei series and, of course, Fire Emblem. Now, have you ever played Shin Megami Tensei?
I think I have played one of them. I don't remember which, but I have played a lot of Persona.
Yeah.
And this game reminded me a bunch of times of Persona 5.
Absolutely. And that's all by design. I don't want to say I've never. I'm sure I have played some Shin Megami Tensei, but I've never beaten one, and I've never really dug deep into that series. But as you know, I have played a lot of Fire Emblem. I am a huge Fire Emblem fan, and we'll get into
Hashtag Golden Deer.
Yeah, hashtag Golden Deer. No, not fucking Golden Deer. Black Eagles.
Hashtag Claude.
No. Edelgard and Petra. That's my game.
You're wrong, but anyway.
So, like I said, it was released in Japan in 2015 and then came out here in 2016 in June. That's when I picked it up for my Wii U. And then just came out January 17th for the Switch. So it was really great that it was going to come out here on a platform that a lot of people would finally get to play this game and see it for themselves. Because it's really a very different kind of game, and it really has to be experienced. So before we get into the details, I just want to give an overview of what kind of game this is. This is 100% a classic JRPG, but it does things based on has several different levels of gameplay. So the top level is you have a map, right? And new locations will appear on that map as you've unlocked them. Now, there have been several other games that have had this, but it makes it really easy to get around, unlike Atli or Iris, where you just have to wander through the forest. This one just gives you just click, and you're there instantly. Within that, every dot on the map is a location that you can navigate around. So there you might go to shops, you might talk to people, that sort of thing. You also have your office, and we'll get into that. And then, of course, you have the dungeons, which, of course, are called KalisaSpirit, which is pretty cool. And then the battle, the standard RPG battles. And then there's a ton of dialogue. Lots of different interactions with the characters. There's several different types of cutscenes. And then you have your smartphone, which is called Topic, which was really cool on the Wii U because everything on the Topic was exclusively put on the Wii U controller. So it was probably the best game I'd ever seen that utilized the Wii U controller, but the Switch version is just as good with one minor problem.
What's the problem? Besides the topics happening all the frickin' time. I don't even text that much on my own goddamn phone.
Yeah, well, there's a bunch of topics. I love the Topic with the little stickers and everything like that. The big problem, and neither of us encountered this, because we both played on the TV, right?
Yeah, I played on the TV. Oh, it would be too small on the Switch screen? Yeah, that makes sense.
It's real tiny when you take it out on the Switch screen. Because, I don't know if you noticed, the Topic has a border around the outside. Whereas on the original Wii U version, the Topic would take up the entire screen. But there's like some kind of border they've put on this. I don't know exactly why. But when you have it on the Switch screen, the text is super small. And a bunch of reviewers have complained about it. And it's even worse if you use the Switch Lite, which is even smaller. Then it's like super squinty vision.
I'm glad I didn't attempt it. It would have been an interesting experience. I can't believe we didn't try it on the small screen to review it better, but I wouldn't have been able to read anything, and I would have been really frustrated.
I tried it briefly, and like some of the reviews said, it looks really fantastic on the small screen, just because you get that greater pixel density. And the screen on the Switch is quite good, so it looks really good on that little screen.
Except for the Topic.
Yeah. Except for the Topic just being just a tiny...
Just tiny, huh?
Tiny but difficult to see.
Just a little.
Just a little
Just it's
bit.
a little tiny.
So, what did you think of like the map system and the locations compared to other JRPGs you've played?
Well, playing through it, it reminded me, like I said, a lot of Persona 5. The maps and going to places and picking them like that was very much like that. The colors and the aesthetics reminded me a lot of it as well. So it even though I had never played this game before, it felt very familiar to me.
Absolutely. And it does. It really, let me see how I can say it. It feels like something you've played before, but in a completely different way. So when you pick a location on the map, then you'll go to the actual location. Now, these locations won't have enemies or anything like that. They're all in the real world. Oh, I guess I should set up the world a little bit better. So in this world, this is not a spoiler.
Spoiler.
It's on the back of the box, okay? So in this world, there are mirages, and they are trying to suck the energy of performance out of people. They call it performa. And there's been this big disappearance about 5 years earlier where a whole bunch of people disappeared, and it turns out that it was these mirages taking this performance energy, and the one survivor is one of the people in your party. So it's like the real world, but there are these mirages that most people can't see, and they'll often like act like they can't see them, and they'll, just say, oh, I feel tired, when there's really like something like sucking their soul. So it's an interesting dynamic. And then once you go into the idolospheres, you can see the mirages and attack them and that type of thing.
I thought it was actually pretty weird talking a little bit about the, beginning and premise of the story that character that you mentioned, that she was not the main character.
Yeah. Okay. Since you brought it up here, so we're talking about, of course, Tsubasa Oribe. And she is one of the main characters, but the main protagonist is Itsuki. And what did you think of Itsuki?
He was definitely the straight man. I feel like it was weird. The whole time I played, I felt like Tsubasa, the story more evolved. Well, I won't say much, but I felt like she should have been the main character. And Itsuki was just kind of there as support. It was weird. I mean, I didn't hate him, but I didn't really like him too much either. He was just blah.
Yes, that perfectly echoes my thoughts. So I understand why he's there. He's there to be a proxy for the players.
He's there to be the straight man, too.
Well, yeah, that too. But I think he's there to be proxy for the players, for most of the players, to kind of see the world through his eyes. But he is like fucking room temperature vanilla pudding. Like if you had one of those like Jell-O snack packs, the ones that don't need to be refrigerated, and you opened it up, that's him. Like totally bland and just uninteresting and just taking up space. Oh God. Yes, you are 100% correct. Tsubasa should have been the main character, but they put in this guy to have players identify with it.
Which I was surprised that because of that, he wasn't a silent protagonist. I was actually thinking he was going to be. And then very soon, in the beginning of the game, he starts talking and I'm like, oh, he's supposed to have a personality. He's not a silent protagonist. That's interesting.
Yeah, interesting would be the right word. I just wish he was gone. He's probably the character I liked least in this game. So Tsubasa, as we said, she was the one who was left over from that disappearance in the very, very beginning, literally in the intro cutscene. And she now has...
Spoiler.
She now is going to try and become an idol to help the world. And basically they call them Mirage Masters, and they can join up with these good Mirages to defeat the bad Mirages. And then they also, by day, masquerade as this entertainment company. So what did you think of Tsubasa? I told you something I thought about Tsubasa, but what did you think about Tsubasa?
Yeah, I know exactly what you told me you thought about her. I thought she was really cute. I mean, there were times where even I thought the story and things that are going on were even a little above my corny threshold, which was interesting because I have a huge corny threshold. But overall, she was endearing.
And that's exactly how I describe her. I think she is fantastic. I love her to death. And listeners, I told Kalisa that Tsubasa reminds me extensively of her. She is a very, very similar person to Tsubasa.
I do not mess up my words when I get really excited. Maybe.
You totally do.
No comment.
Okay, so then we also have Toma, who's like the action hero kind of guy. He does like a live action, stage action play, but he wants to be like an action hero. What do you think of him?
I actually really like Toma, and I was surprised because another part of this game, obviously, in the very beginning, you find out about this, is there's Fire Emblem references in this game where the Mirages, that you meet are sometimes portrayed as Fire Emblem characters.
Well, all the good Mirages are.
Well, yeah, all the good Mirages. And I was surprised when I first saw Toma in his, Mirage Master form, whatever. I thought he was merged with Ryoma.
Oh, yeah, he does look a little bit like Ryoma. But yeah.
But then you meet his Mirage, and I'm like, who the fuck is this guy?
Yeah, so they went real old school on some of the Mirages. His Mirage is Kain, and I've played a lot of Fire Emblem. I do not remember Kain. So, yeah, that's definitely how it is. And Tsubasa's is Seda, who is really old as well. I know Seda from Fire Emblem Heroes on phones, but I've never actually played the game with Seda in it.
I had a geekgasm when I saw creepy, ghosty Chrom.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. And then one of the cool things is that when Tsubasa meets Fortuna Entertainment for the first time, she realizes that this kind of idol that her favorite musician is also in the thing. And that's Kiria. And she's like Katy Perry, but then it's all of a sudden she gets to work with Katy Perry. Actually, I think she's probably more Avril Lavigne than Katy Perry. But yeah, it's really great to have that element where you see her so giddily excited to work with somebody. And I was really excited when I saw who Kiria's Mirage was, because they're one of my favorite characters in all of Fire Emblem. And we also have cute little Tiki who's helping you out with stuff. Really great characters all around.
Okay. I have an issue with Tiki.
Why? How could anyone not like Tiki?
No, I don't dislike Tiki. In the Fire Emblem series, how old is she?
Oh, she's I don't know, 1 billion years old? I never know. Thousands of years old.
Okay. Oni-chan! Okay, the big brother thing from someone that's supposed to be thousands of years old. I mean, I have in my notes anime trope number 1. A lolly little girl having an older, supposedly older guy. Her calling him Oni-chan, acting all cute.
Yeah, but it was cute. She's so sweet.
Yeah, uh-huh.
And then, of course, they're all led by Miss Mako. who feels, I'm not so into the anime tropes as you are, but she feels very anime tropey.
Anime trope number 2, booby bouncing.
So who is most guilty of booby bouncing?
Between which characters?
Like Tsubasa or Meiko?
Oh, no. Tsubasa doesn't have, the second you see Meiko, it like kind of zooms in a little on her boobs so they can bounce in front of your eyes, It's definitely anime tropey.
But it's like the older woman who's kind of hitting on the younger guys and kind of drinks a lot. Is that like a anime trope? Okay.
Oh, yeah. Totally.
It definitely felt like it.
Yeah, it definitely was. And of course, the cute little innocent-y schoolgirl, that's another anime trope.
But she's so cute. I just want to cuddle Tsubasa.
Uh-huh.
So what did you think of the graphics overall?
The graphics were okay most of the time. I was a little put off in the very beginning because I thought some of the facial animations looked weird. I mean, there was this scene when, in the very beginning, when you're talking to Tsubasa, and just the way her mouth moved, and opened really wide when she was excited or shocked, I was like, that looks a little weird to me. And I understand that this was beefed up from the Wii U graphics. I mean, I don't know how they treated the game to put it on the Switch, but it didn't happen all the time. I just felt that some of the facial animation graphics made me go, ooh, that looked a little weird.
Yeah, I didn't actually think that. And I think part of it is because it was dubbed. Not dubbed, it was subbed. So I didn't really have that connection with the voices that I would in another game. And that brings us to the biggest tragedy of this, that they did not take the time to dub this for the US release. I would have absolutely loved this if they had dubbed it.
Now, a lot of big anime fans, both in anime and the anime-ish video games, prefer the sub versions. And there's a lot of kind of argument in forums about this versus dub and sub. And I'll say it first off, I enjoy both anime shows, sub, dub, depending on what I'm doing. Sometimes if I'm like meandering around doing quests and WoW, I'll watch the dub version on my other monitor because it's easier to pay attention, where obviously I can't watch sub doing that. But when I'm paying attention fully, I'd rather the sub version. And I know there's a lot of big fan people that are like, no, sub. But the dubs have come very far. They're usually perfect. Now, there are some exceptions. But one of the things that made me a little upset that this was not dubbed was there was a lot of conversation during combat. And there was a lot of conversation during combat. Now, granted, they repeated a lot of the stuff, but it would have been nice to know what they were saying. From all the years of watching anime and stuff, I did recognize some words they were saying, but not much. Like, a bunch of times at the end of combat, Itsuki would say, "Is everyone okay?" A few times, Tsubasa would say, "I'm scared," and then something else after that. I couldn't pick up what she was saying. And Krom, when Itsuki would be really hurt, would say, "Are you okay, Itsuki?" But other than that, I couldn't really pick up much else that was being said in combat.
Yeah, and I think I mentioned this to you 5 years ago when I first played this game, that this game, unlike most JRPGs, there's a lot of JRPGs which have little bits of dialogue in combat. This one has sentences and sentences of dialogue, and there's no sub and there's no dub, and we have no clue what they're saying. Like, sometimes I'll pick them up, saying "arigato, Seda" or something like that, saying "thank you, Seda" or something like that. But it's like, a lot of times we don't even know what they're saying.
Yeah, and it was weird too, because not only would the Mirages speak to the Mirage Masters when they were in combat, but each character would comment on other people as well in combat. And it was a little off-putting to me, because even though, like I said, in combats, a lot of phrases are repeated, to me it feels like that would be, very make you more attached to the character to know, what they're talking about in life or death situations like that. And I understand why they couldn't sub it in combat. In combat, a lot was going on. It took me quite a while to get used to all that was going on in combat. Even though it was turn-based with, how the combat field was, my eyes just kept like going every which way and didn't know where to focus at first. So if they subbed any of that, I don't think I'd be able to pay attention to it anyways. And imagine playing that on the small Switch screen if it was subbed, trying to read that.
Yeah, but it would be nice to at least have the option.
No, true. I mean, it would have been nice if they got Matt Mercer to voice Crom in this, if they did the dub.
Oh my God, yes. Or fucking, I kept thinking Laura Bailey as Kyria.
Oh, that would have been good, yeah.
Yeah, or an Erica Lindbeck as Tsubasa. I mean, it could be so great. Travis Willingham as Toma. I mean, it could be amazing.
Yeah, but they didn't want to. I mean, from what I heard, because one of my favorite series started not. They used to dub the series, but then they stopped in the more recent ones and only have subbed it. And I've enjoyed them a little less because of it, because the company wanted to save money. And I get companies want to save money, but you know, maybe Nintendo wasn't sure that this would sell a lot, so they didn't want to waste the money. I don't know. But I think they should have given us the option to listen to it dubbed.
Absolutely. So we talked about battle briefly. So the battle system in this is pretty different. Now, there's a lot of things that I complain about in JRPG battles. What do you think I would love about the battle system here?
Oh, I don't freaking know.
Well, number one, that you can see the enemies before you fight.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And then also you can hit them for a chance at a first strike. But the battle system, my favorite part now, the battles are super psychedelic. So if you're not okay with that, then you're not going to have a good time.
Yeah, super psychedelic. And going back real quick, you can see the enemies, but all the enemies look the same.
Uh-huh.
They're all like the ghostly phantom thing. So they kind of copped out a little on that.
Well, yeah, but it's because they're mirages.
But then why do you see them in their regular form in combat screen?
You know what?
It's a
Don't
cop
dig
out.
too deep. Maybe just a little bit. But the combat, something I didn't like is that the combat always takes place on the same arena, which is like this psychedelic, like, I don't even, like sports arena or something like that.
It's a music concert arena.
Yes. And the combat, my favorite thing about the combat is that this is one JRPG where you almost never use your regular attack. And I've always felt that those were better because they allowed you to use the mechanics of the game developers have designed. And in this one, it's the session system, where if you hit someone with something they're weak to, then another character will get to attack, and another, on and on and on. So it allows you to do multiple things. And it has a really epic feel. That's how it's designed. It's more style than substance, but that's kind of the whole game. It's kind of the whole aesthetic they're going for. What did you think of that?
First of all, I was happy that you could only have 3 party members at a time, because if there was more than 3, due to my concentration issues with the combat screen, I would be lost. But yeah, I actually have it in my notes that it's interesting that I almost never use my basic attack. The only time I ever use the basic attack is if, I didn't have anything the enemy was weak against, or if the enemy was about to die and I didn't want to waste my mana or whatever the energy resource in this game was called.
Yeah, absolutely. And it gives it a really nice feel. The funny thing is that, and it's also based on Fire Emblem, right? The weakness system, like you want to use a lance versus a sword user and that type of thing. So it's all based on the standard Fire Emblem, one weapon type beating another weapon type. But the cool thing is that the enemies get the same thing against you. And boy, there is no feeling like
I didn't find that
like
cool.
The first time an enemy hits you with a session, you're like, wait, what? No, this is for me, not for them.
Especially those random enemies that you can't knock down, and they're way beefier than every other. I died to them a few times. I was not very happy.
Yeah, so there are randomly savage enemies, which are purple instead of red, and they are much stronger than the regular enemy.
Fuck you up.
Yeah, it's one of the key reasons to save early, save often in this. There is no autosave. And I was trying to...
Which was a bummer.
I was trying to think if in the Wii U version you could save anywhere. And I want to say that in the Wii U version, I don't think you could, but I could be wrong. But they definitely added the ability to save anywhere if it wasn't in the Wii U version. So I saved all the time.
I definitely like that in games that you can save anywhere. Played a lot of old school JRPGs and even JRPGs now where you can only save at certain locations, like save points or whatever the game might have. I really liked that you could save anywhere, but stupid me, I forgot to save a lot. And then those bad enemies would get you, and I'd be like, oh shit, where was the last time all the way back there? Damn it.
Yeah, I would sometimes see the savage enemy and immediately save. just in case I couldn't get past them, or if I died to them, because I would frequently beat them. You just had to use your special sessions, which are like an ability you can build up and use to beat them. But yeah, it all depends on exactly where you are, and you have to remember to save.
Well, the funny thing with me is I haven't played a Switch game in a little bit, so I kept confusing my buttons because I had been using an Xbox controller a lot before this. So whenever I went to like swing at the enemies, I would hit the menu screen instead, and I'd be like, oh, I guess I should save now.
Well, there you go. It's trying to remind you.
Yeah, I guess.
So we mentioned the graphics briefly. What do you think they did to the graphics to enhance them from the Wii U for the Switch?
Oh, I never played it on the Wii U, so you're going to have to tell us that.
If you had to guess.
Upscale them a bit?
Absolutely nothing. They did nothing.
Oh.
The graphics are 100% identical to the Wii U version, at least as far as I could tell.
Well, they had to have upscaled it a little, you don't think?
No, I don't think so. I mean, the Wii U version was 1080p, and I think this is 1080p, or maybe it's 720p. But yeah, the graphics are basically identical to the Wii U version. There were some positive changes. Number one, I would say that the load times are greatly reduced, because the Wii U was obviously a disc-based system that actually read the games off the discs. So you know how when you get into combat, there's that screen of your 3 characters? Well, in the Wii U version, that screen would stay up for a good 10 seconds before the combat.
Speaking of flawless transition, I thought it was really quick and pretty flawless when it did a transition between regular cutscene and anime cutscene.
Yeah, absolutely. They really did a great job in integrating everything together. But the load times just much lower across the board. The only other things that are different are they added some additional content. You probably saw the training sphere in the Bloom Palace. That is completely new. That did not exist before. And then also there's some additional side quests and things like that, which I didn't get to yet. But there is some more content available to kind of explore the characters a little bit more.
That's cool. That'll help because we don't know what they're saying in combat, so.
Yeah. So since you mentioned the cutscenes, what did you think of the cutscenes?
I really enjoyed them. Obviously, the anime style is a little different compared to, the anime style used in Tales of Berseria, which we had played last week. I think the anime style in this game, the colors are a little more subdued, I would say, where in Berseria they're a little more brighter, if that makes sense. But I enjoyed them. I really like music, and obviously this whole game is surrounded with it's like you're playing a musical at times, and I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, the first time I saw the intro, first of all, I thought was great. But then the first time I saw the very first musical interlude, you first see Kyria's concert and the music starts and she's kind of floating around and stuff. It just blew me away because it was so dramatic, but it fit in with it. And then later on, obviously there are more and more and more musical interludes. The whole game is set up like a performance piece. You have the prologue, and then you have chapter 1, then you have an intermission, then you have chapter 2. It just brings everything together in a really cohesive way that you can expect a different, musical number in between each chapter.
Speaking of opening cutscene, I know you mentioned last episode that it was the best anime cutscene. It was good. It was definitely not the best. To explain a little, whenever I play a Tales game, whenever I start the game, I watch the anime cutscene almost every single time. I'm crazy, I know. I enjoy it, and I watch it. So this game, I started it up a few times from scratch because we shared the disc, we traded it off, so I would restart the game from the main menu. And I would think, hey, I haven't seen the opening cutscene. Let me watch it again. So I was doing something else, waiting for the game, waiting for the cutscene to come up. Never came up. So now I was curious, so I waited some more. Never came up. I'm like, So you only get to see it once? It would never replay for me, even on the selection screen. And I was on the selection screen for a long freaking time, and it just never came up.
Huh. I'm trying to think. The Wii U version may have been different. Because I remember I obviously haven't watched it many times this time because I've been busy playing it. But I think the Wii U version, I remember watching it a whole bunch. They may have changed that. That's interesting. And it's strange because I really loved in Fire Emblem Three Houses, where if you let it sit on the screen, it would start the video.
Yeah, and all Tales games do that too. I mean, in Tales games, when you first start the game fresh, it will just play the cutscene first, but if you stay on the loading screen for an extended period of time, it will replay it. So I assumed that this game would be very similar, especially because, like you mentioned, Three Houses did that. But nope, I never saw that cutscene again unless I went to YouTube.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that, but I think you're probably right. But overall, the music is just absolutely incredible. The music sounds great no matter what you're doing. The standard battle music, oh my god, I don't know what it is. I just love it. I love that first hit where it's like, when you go into a combat, it is just makes me so happy. And then also they used some of the very similar music in just a couple of the tracks in the new Fire Emblem Three Houses game. So there was some callbacks to Tokyo Mirage Sessions from Fire Emblem Three Houses, which I really liked.
Oh, obviously I didn't notice that because I played Three Houses before this. One of the little tunes from Fire Emblem that definitely brought a smile to my face was when you level up. It's the Fire Emblem level up like do-do-do or whatever.
Yeah, and they used a couple of different sound effects from Fire Emblem. All the references are all over the place. The do ding 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 is probably the best and most iconic thing from Fire Emblem. But then also some of the sound effects, like when you open a door, things like that, they're often taken directly from Fire Emblem, and they use the same sound effect. Speaking of things taken from Fire Emblem, did you notice the who the cashier was in the convenience store?
It was Anna.
Exactly. Just little references all around is really great. And it makes it feel like very cohesive and that you're really bringing this Fire Emblem universe. And I love Fire Emblem, as most people can tell. So I was really happy to get whatever extra Fire Emblem we can get.
Yeah, when the new house DLC comes out, we're going to have to do a special episode of She Made Me Play on DLC just so we can have a chance to play it.
Yeah, we can do a review of DLC. That's fair.
Well, I'm excited for it.
It's like a whole new...
Hashtag Golden Deers for life, though.
No. Hashtag Edelgard did nothing wrong.
Yeah, no. Anyways, speaking about the characters, we talked a little about the side characters and stuff like that. Of course, you see him very quickly in the game. The instructor,
Barry.
The teacher, Barry.
Yeah.
Anime trope, bingo. Major otaku.
The funny thing is, I really want to see that anime he likes, the Little Witch Dia. I'm like, oh, I want to see this. It sounds cool.
You see ads for it, though. Pictures and ads around the world for it, though.
Absolutely. And speaking of the pictures and ads, did you notice how they change?
Yeah, during certain parts in the story, I did notice they changed. I thought that was really interesting. And I also noticed that in the main office, not only the billboards change, but the TV, ads that kind of go through on the TV there change too.
Yeah.
I thought that was a nice little, thing to add. I thought that was very entertaining.
We've talked a bit about world building on this podcast, and this really shows how you can make a cohesive world with just a couple of additions. When a new song is released, when you're walking around outside, you'll start to hear that song just played in stores, and you'll be able to hear it come out, and then you'll see posters for that single or whatever all over the place. And it just feels very real. Yeah,
what felt really real as well was they have amazing crosswalking etiquette in this game.
Well, that's Japan for you, right?
Oh, yeah, exactly.
Although I did find it a little bit difficult to navigate where you didn't have a free camera. I felt like I'd had a little bit of a stroke. I couldn't get my brain around which way I was supposed to go, specifically in Shibuya.
Yeah, I was going to say Shibuya was very, very confusing to navigate around for me. I would say at first, but the whole 10 hours, it was a little confusing.
I definitely agree. It was not the game's strongest moment. I wish it was easier to navigate, but there was lots of cool stuff there. There's lots of interesting people to talk to and lots of side quests. And then, like I said, the posters, the music and everything all going together.
It's interesting to me how the game did it too. And I've seen it done elsewhere. For some reason, I'm thinking it was in Persona 5 and I could be wrong because I haven't played for a while. I'm waiting for the Royal Edition to come out to force Pure to replay it with me. But how most of the people, because obviously Japan and Shibuya have a lot of people, but the normal like droids are just like these different like single shaded color just walking around. And now and then you will see like a fully colored, fully animated person and oh, I can talk to that person.
Yeah, I thought it was a very interesting choice to do that. And I think it was obviously due to the hardware limitations of the Wii U, but they wanted it to feel very populated at the same time.
I thought it was a nice artistic choice. I thought it was interesting.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I think it made it feel really alive. And there's so many games where I remember in like Baldur's Gate or something, you'll press down the shift to see like the tags of everything. And you'll just look for the person who's not labeled commoner. This made it really easy to instantly see who you could talk to and who you couldn't.
Yeah, definitely. And it looked pretty. I mean, I didn't mind about it. It wasn't a bad thing to me.
Absolutely, I agree. So, overall, what did you think of this game? What were your favorite parts and what do you think that could have been better?
Well, before I answer that, I still have a bit of notes, but I do want to point out one thing. And this might be a spoiler, and I don't give a shit. Fucking creepy clown heads. What the fuck is wrong with this game?
Oh, yeah, nickel-wise.
Oh my God. I thought I was going to have a nightmare when I saw those freaking things. I hate clowns. I hate creepy clowns. Creepy clown heads with fangs coming at you was the creepiest shit I've seen in this game.
Really? You didn't like those guys?
No, I did not like those guys.
There were definitely some weird enemies.
Hashtag fuck clowns.
You never know. Clowns could be good.
Oh, those clowns were not good. Holy shit. Okay, so sorry. What was your question?
I was just wondering, what other thoughts do you have?
I mean, I only played 10 hours and I played a lot of wandering around, doing combats because not fighting a lot. I felt that some of the combats were really difficult in a weird way. I mean, I played on normal just to get the feel of the game and I died a few times, mostly on those stupid harder enemies that would come after you like you owed them money or something. So when the training arena thingy opened up, I went in there quite a bit. But then it did warn me about this, but then I kind of trivialized combat too after that. But I did enjoy the combat. It wasn't, even though it took me a little bit to get used to all that was going on in the combat screen, I quite enjoyed it.
So any other thoughts before we wrap it up?
Yeah, another note was, and you complained about this in Tales, so I thought it was funny it was this in this game. Press one button to break a wall.
Yeah, but in this game, you can't just do it any time. You can only do it like in the certain times, and there's conditions.
There was a lot of walls where I just pushed a button to break the wall.
Yeah, but the key thing was that the reason you could break that wall was because you had gone around to the backside, and this just made a shortcut going forward.
Yeah, but you still press one button to break the wall.
Yeah, but it's not the first time you see the wall that you break it. You have to go around to the back.
So that makes a difference?
Absolutely makes a huge difference. You'll see this exact same mechanic used in Bloodborne
So in Tales, it would have been much better for you if you saw the vine walls and you just had to walk around the corner to burn them.
Well, no. So never in this game is it just walk around the corner.
It was that way a bunch of times.
No, you got to pay attention. Usually it's you have to go somewhere, do a puzzle, come back, and then you break it so that it's a shortcut next time. So when you come back, you can easily just go that way.
In the first two dungeons, that was not the case.
Well, maybe in the tutorial dungeon, it's not that case, but that's the case in the game, and that's why they have it.
Yeah.
You'll see
nice
the
excuse.
same.
It was one button. One button, break the wall. Something you complained about. That's why I'm pointing it out.
Yeah, but it was completely different because you're making a shortcut.
Anyway.
Right? In Tales, you were not making a shortcut.
Anyway, my next thing, because you're wrong, I really liked in the different chapters, it felt like that the main cast, as they called it, changed their clothes.
Yeah, that's one of those little things. It's like, oh, this is realistic. This feels right that they're, not wearing the same clothes the entire game. And I would have to say it's probably one of the very few games in existence where this is a thing.
Yeah, and I really enjoyed it. And of course, then you could choose to pick what outfit you want to wear in the main game or in combat.
Yeah, I was not a big fan of some of the guys' outfits in combat. I thought they were a little bit over the top.
Oh, please. The girls were way over the top too, but you thought they were sexy, so you didn't care.
Hey, maybe.
Yeah, exactly.
I just like Tsubasa's Pegasus armor.
So, I don't even know. One of the things I found a little annoying was every time there was a cutscene, there you could push a button to have the text auto progress so you didn't have to keep clicking the button. And Fire Emblem Three Houses had this too. So I would always push like the auto text button so the conversation will just keep flowing naturally. But it felt like every new cutscene, I had to keep pushing that button. And yes, it's only one button, so it's a minor annoyance. But in Fire Emblem Three Houses, you just hit it once and then you never had to hit it again. The game remembered your selection.
It's funny because I never used that button where I used it all the time in Fire Emblem because I couldn't understand what they were saying anyway.
Well, I can read faster than the text goes anyway, so I figured it sounded more natural as it was.
Yeah, I would just generally kind of skip through the conversations and read it because I couldn't understand their dialogue.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's because I watch so much subtitled anime that I just rather it flowed like naturally. So I just would always push it. And it was a very minor annoyance, but I didn't like that it didn't save my choice to like just autoplay the text every time.
It's funny because this game also added the quick sessions from the Wii U version. And that setting, it will save it when you pick it one. And boy, you haven't seen it yet because the sessions in the beginning of the game are very short, but they get very long. And they can get into sessions where you'll have 6, 7, 8, 10 sessions going from one attack. And the quick sessions will be a dream. Because the end of the game, before I beat this, it was really difficult because the combat took so long.
Oh, wow. Okay, good to know.
So overall, what was your impressions of Tokyo Mirage Sessions Sharp FE Encore?
I actually really enjoyed the game, and I'm really happy I got a chance to play it now because I do have a Switch. I actually bought the Switch specifically for Fire Emblem Three Houses, and now I have 2 games to play on the Switch. So that's really exciting. If I want to finish this game, I cannot make any promises like you to finish it in a certain time frame, but I will play and beat this game eventually.
Well, that's a pretty glowing review from you. I figured it would be right up your alley. I mean, you love music. You love musicals. You love the Buffy musical episode and things like that. And this has a lot of that feel. I think my biggest takeaway from this game is, sure, it's not perfect. The graphics are really simple in like the Dallas spheres. There's not much improvement over the Wii U version. But this game has so much heart. It has so much like feeling and depth to it. And it tries so hard to make itself just make you feel good and happy with some of the goofy characters and the tropey things. It's not trying to take itself too seriously, but at the same time, it can conjure a surprising amount of emotion from the players. So on my scale, for our first ever She Made Me Play review, I'm going to review my games on the sushi scale, okay? So the sushi scale, the bottom of the sushi scale, that's like grocery store sushi. The top of the sushi scale is like Nobu in New York City with Morimoto making it himself, okay? So I would rate this at about Sake Rock in Vegas, which is a really decent, good sushi place, but it has a floor show of singing and dancing. So it's a lot more fun than normal sushi.
You are such a dork. How are people going to know what the hell you're talking about?
It means it's really good.
Okay.
So how would you rate this?
I'll rate it as a Kalisa scale that I will continue to play it.
That's a pretty good rating. I appreciate that. Well, thank you so much for joining us. And next episode, we are going to kick it old school with one of my favorite games from when I was a tween myself.
Are you sure? I thought that, we decided not to do that
No.
anymore.
We have to mix in the old school games. That's how it works.
No.
Oh, you love it.
Oh.
Blast from the past. From when Kalisa was 6 years old.
I thought that yeah, fine.
You're going to love it. Champions of Krynn coming next time. Listen in to see what I think replaying a game from my childhood and what Kalisa thinks playing this old school Dungeons & Dragons gold box game for the first time ever.
Shoot me now.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a good one.